All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays. What's going on, everyone? Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, coming at you with another episode of Pat's Daily, brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. Today, we are reviewing an epic preseason win for the Patriots, 48-18 against the Commanders last night. It was a very different Patriots team. Whether you were actually there, got to see the Tom Brady statue reveal and all that good stuff before the game, and then the beatdown they put on what, albeit is a not very deep Commanders team that didn't play any of its starters. We're going to get all the caveats out of the way very early because, of course, it's the preseason. There's only so much you can gain when guys are going against players who might not even be in the NFL by the time the preseason is over, or almost certainly won't be on active rosters. But even still, I wanted to hone in on some of the individual performances by going on the big plays in this game. So offensively, we're talking touchdowns, we're talking explosives, also on special teams. Actually going to start the show off with that because Jeremy Springer's unit, I think, really set the tone for the entire night. You had big kickoff returns, and then in the tackling, you were seeing young guys being able to contribute consistently, having really good discipline, being physical, helping each other, a lot of team football. And in a summer where I know Mike Vrabel got a little bit of flack because he wasn't having the most physical training camp because he wants to make sure he's taking care of his players' bodies. And I mean, even though he's done that, we've already seen some guys get injured, land on IR. But even still, like last night, he talks about kickoffs. We can't really do those full speed in practice. So it's really important to be able to execute those in the game and just have our fundamentals down. And I think we got a lot of really good examples of that in the game's third phase. And also the defense. I mean, when you look at it, there were some explosives they gave up, but there weren't a lot of really egregiously bad plays from the defense where it felt like technique broke down or guys just had mental farts. You know, there were some things here and there. But for the most part, I love the fact that we saw depth corners contributing, getting plays on the ball, and also the pass rush. Now, the Commanders were getting the ball out very quickly. I think they averaged less than 2.5 seconds to throw, which is basically balls in my hand, I'm getting this out. But the Patriots are still able to get some quick pressure on bull rushes, some twists. We're going to get to see some of that. If anybody's got questions, also feel free to ask them. Before I really dive into the film, I'm going to try to answer a couple of things off the bat if you guys want to know anything. But I was really impressed going through the film of this game. Another theme I will say in this film, I wanted to avoid plays that made guys who are kind of at the back of the roster look bad. You know, if you're talking about a Miles Battle, a guy who's fighting for the roster, like, yes, there are going to be deficiencies in his game. And that's the reason he's more of like a practice squad type candidate. But at the same time, when those guys flash, you want to put those a little bit in front of the people's eyes to see, okay, this is why this guy might end up sticking around even if he doesn't make the team. So let me just check really quick the chat. Don't want to make you guys feel ignored. Hello, everyone. Also, this is my first time driving the ship solo in a while. We're also going to be using an editing software that I'm not super familiar with yet, so there's going to be kind of clunky. I've experimented with it before, but I really want to try to dive in to make these film breakdowns a little bit more efficient for all of you. So if it's clunky, I apologize. I'm going to learn my lessons. Preseason for everybody, and this is the time to make some of those mistakes. Here's one fun one. We're going to talk about Will Campbell. He did look very good. Now, we're also going to break down the twist that contributed to Drake May's turnover. Now, it didn't cause Drake May's turnover. That was on the quarterback. Mike Vrabel said that it was a bad decision. Drake May said it was a bad decision. But for the most part, outside of that, Will Campbell did look pretty good in pass protection. I think there were times where you do see that, you know, he's getting over his skis, and that's something, or kind of lunging, leaning a little bit. And as an offensive lineman, you don't want to do that. I thought that was a bit of a theme for really all of their young guys, with Jared Wilson as well and Marcus Bryant. But for the most part, those guys did impress. Jared Wilson, I thought, struggled more than I expected. Marcus Bryant, a guy who started 42 games in college, I thought he really showed that experience and his ability to recover, his awareness. I also like the physicality that he brought as a run blocker. But Will Campbell, I kind of got away from him because we're going to get into the tape. But the man set the tone on his first career play. Josh McDaniels said, all right, Will Campbell's weapon on toss, we're going to use him that way. And he drew 2 shoves because he played all the way through the whistle. I also think he finished the game with like 3 pancake blocks at least, and the guy played like 14 snaps. So it was a very impressive performance from Will Campbell. What do I think of Ben Waldridge? Another guy that I'm going to get into, not as much as I wanted to. I tried to get like 5 plays for special teams, about 5 for offense and about 5 for defense. I cheat a little bit on offense for Ben Waldridge. But I was impressed, man. Joshua Dobbs, I thought, he's been inconsistent, his accuracy throughout the summer. Like, I think when you're talking about throws right down the pipe, he's usually very good. But when he's throwing outside the numbers, he has some wow throws. Like, he'll hit the honey hole against cover two between the safety and the cornerback, those tight window, low percentage, but high risk type plays or high reward type plays. He can make those, but there also is a lot of inconsistency in his game. And when you're not Drake May and you're spraying balls, it's a little less acceptable. But Waldridge, I mean, he's another guy who has a lot of starts under his belt in college. Unfortunately, he's dealt with a bunch of injuries, but I thought he genuinely looked like a vet out there. He was stepping into pockets, wasn't really affected by pressure, was finishing on throws, the one that we're going to break down with Efton Chism's touchdown, where he gets his arm hit as he's letting the ball go and doesn't flinch. I really liked his toughness. And as someone who thought, yeah, Joshua Dobbs, maybe Ben Waldridge makes the practice squad, if he keeps this up, they're not going to be able to stash him on the practice squad. And while I know they got rid of Joe Milton saying, they wanted to make sure that Drake was surrounded by guys who could teach him, Josh McDaniels is known for kind of keeping that third quarterback, that younger developmental type trade chip, develop him, because Josh McDaniels is one of the best quarterback evaluators and teachers in the game of football. And he can just churn out these guys in maybe a year, 2 years down the road, a la a Joe Milton. Maybe you can get a return out of him, hopefully more than a Joe Milton. But really, really did like what I saw from Ben Waldridge. What else we got in here before we get started? When was the last time there was a skill player with even half as much juice as TreVeyon Henderson? That man is terrifying to watch run. I will tell you, now he's 5'11", but he's a bulky 5'11". So when he's running and hitting that 4.3, I think Underdog said he hit like 21 miles an hour on his return. That's just freaky stuff, and it doesn't take him very long to reach that top speed. I don't know when the last time is the Patriots had a guy quite that explosive. I think Kyle Williams might be close, but obviously in a very different type of body. So yeah, man, TreVeyon Henderson was fun. We got a couple clips of him as well. Looks like that's it for questions. So let's dive into some tape. I actually wanted to start, like I said, with special teams, because I thought that Jeremy Springer's guys, not only were they disciplined and tough and setting the tone before all these drives got started, but I also appreciated the intelligence, the celebration that we see, like with Mike Vrabel, just the camaraderie you see in that unit. Jeremy Springer, one of the only coaches that was actually retained by the Patriots, and the only coordinator, of course, and you see why. Those guys love playing for him. They sing his praises whenever they get the opportunity, and you see it on the field. Last year, that special teams unit was the most well-coached unit on the Patriots, and it's looking like, I don't want to come for Josh McDaniels yet. He's a multiple-time Super Bowl champion. He's one of the best. But, I mean, with a lot of these talented rookies, Jeremy Springer might have more to work with, and I think this could be an elite special teams unit potentially this year, especially with some contributions from some guys we may not have expected, like a Jayvon Baker. But I'm talking too much. I'm getting excited. Let's get into the film. First play I want to break down is TreVeyon Henderson's kick return touchdown to start the game. His first touch of his NFL career. Extremely impressive from the rookie, and just a testament to how much work these guys put in to be able to do this despite the fact they can't go full speed on kickoffs during practice. Now, huge hole there. TreVeyon Henderson does make a man miss, beats whoever that was. It wasn't the kicker, but he beats someone, and then obviously outruns the kicker, because that's what TreVeyon Henderson does. He's outrunning everybody. Everybody wants to make it to the other side of the field to celebrate with him. Now, what is it exactly that made this play work? So I want to start on this play going from left to right and explaining some of the key blocks that allowed this play to succeed. So first of all, we're going to put the spotlight right here. Let me get my paint tool up. There we go. First, I want to highlight Alex Austin right here. He's actually going to end up blocking two separate players on this kickoff. So ball is in the air. This is still so bizarre to me that nobody just moves. Get the one block, get a two for right there. Antonio Gibson helps a little bit to create a seal outside. Next, want to take a look at Elijah Ponder, UDFA, known for his edge rushing talent. He was dominant in one-on-ones. I thought he stood out in quite a few moments, actually, when it came to special teams, both as a blocker and as a tackler. Here, he engages his man, stays locked on, and doesn't get a hold as he takes his guy to the ground to help open that crease for TreVeyon Henderson. Really good job there by Elijah Ponder. Next, we're going to take a look at Jack Gibbons, who also blocks two guys. So initially, he gets his assignment, but also gets a chunk of the guy over there to kind of help Schooler on his block. Then we get a seal over there. And another guy who had a great day on special teams, 3 tackles, in fact, on kickoff, Also helped out a lot as a blocker on kick return, Craig Woodson. So what his role was on kick return, where there was a few times where he would initially pretend that he was going to block one player and then come off that guy, which helped Brendan Schooler make his block and kind of sneak underneath to set up these big returns. So you see, he fakes the block there, kind of forces this player right here to go inside of him, helps Schooler funnel that guy right there. And then Woodson helps on two separate blocks, Christian Ellis and Jaheim Bell right there to create a seal. TreVeyon Henderson takes advantage. A little bit of an arm tackle right there, but he's able to get through it. And then he's off to the races. Great job beating this angle from, I believe that's number 6, Noah Egbenogany. And then that crazy explosive burst, man. Once he's in the open field, not a lot of people going to be able to catch TreVeyon Henderson. Awesome play to start the preseason and the Mike Vrabel era. Look at everybody in the back having fun. First play, baby. Big one. All right, second play we're going to look at is Antonio Gibson's big kickoff return. Now, this is a play I really like because we saw some contributions from Anthony Jennings, a guy who is on the outside looking in because of his skill set, lacking some pass rush upside, but he worked his butt off on special teams. Also get another impact play from Craig Woodson, and look at Antonio Gibson fighting through contact, even more than Henderson did, not quite able to escape the backside pursuit there, but another huge return to set the offense up with great field position. So here, we're going to start on Anthony Jennings. He's going to be over on the right side. Let's fast forward, get this ball in the air. Now, Jennings stays engaged just long enough to allow Antonio Gibson to kind of get through. It looks like it might be a little bit of an arm tackle. Kind of gets an assist there from Jordan Polk as well. Also, Craig Woodson, once again, feigning a block. Oh, I'm going to block it. No, I'm not. Coming off to set up Brandon Schooler. That allows Antonio Gibson to make a cutoff there. And Craig Woodson, after faking a block, also helps out over here with Monty Rice to get the seal. And let's get that spotlight off there. Nice big lane for Antonio Gibson. Run through the arm tackle, young man, and then outrace the kicker. Unfortunately, backside pursuit once again did do a really good job to contain this one. But, I mean, we talk about it all the time. The Patriots teams that used to make and win these Super Bowls felt like in the playoffs, so often you would see some kind of big return, whether it was like Garrett Blount, Dion Lewis, Amendola, whomever. These are game-changing plays. Obviously, doesn't mean a whole lot in the preseason, but if this translates to the regular season, this Patriots special teams unit is going to be very fun to watch. Now, I talked about Craig Woodson and his role as a blocker. Now I want to highlight his work as a guy who's actually making tackles on these kickoffs. Craig Woodson right here, kind of juking his guys, showing the good angles that he usually uses as a safety, translating those over to special teams, the closing speed to flatten and bring this guy down. But it wasn't just Woodson on this play. With special teams, it rarely is just one guy. So I also want to highlight the other guys who made this possible, starting out with Jack Gibbons. Where's Jack Gibbons? That's him. All right, let's get the ball in the air. So Jack Gibbons, first of all, and Jaheim Bell do a really nice job getting penetration here and funneling the returner further to the inside and limiting his options. You're also going to get Brendan Schooler occupying two different players and holding his ground, not letting up even 1 inch. Monty Rice does a solid job there in the middle. And gumming up this inside really doesn't give the returner a whole lot of options, kind of has to redirect, and that makes it easier for Woodson to come from the outside, isn't blocked, but to be disciplined, take a good angle to the ball, and corral the returner for a very short gain. You see the fire there from Craig Woodson. Monty Rice coming over to help celebrate with him. All right, finally for special teams, I want to highlight Jayvon Baker. Now, I have been very critical of Jayvon Baker, I must say, strictly as a receiver, because we all know he's extremely talented. The tough part is, he's been inconsistent. And if you're inconsistent as a young receiver, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you're going to have to contribute on special teams to hold the job down while you develop behind the scenes. And Jayvon Baker had 2 tackles, one on kickoff, one on the punt team. Love that he's able to do it, not just in one phase, but in multiple. And also Jayvon Baker potentially stepping up for Marcellus Dial, who unfortunately was placed on injured reserve after tearing his ACL during practice. Hope he comes back better than ever, of course. But good job on Jayvon Baker capitalizing on the opportunities presented. So we're going to see him right here at the top of the screen opposite Brendan Schooler. Going to let the play run first. You see Jayvon Baker using his speed and his physicality and understanding of, when you're out there as a gunner, as a jammer, it's kind of similar to the interactions between a corner and a receiver. Makes it easier for some of the defensive backs and receivers to kind of translate it to this area. And you see that speed. Good angle from Jayvon Baker as well, because tackling and pursuit isn't necessarily his game, right? Because he is a wide receiver. He's not making a lot of tackles, but clearly he has worked hard to make sure he is someone who can be relied on in that capacity. So let's look at this one more time. First, of course, Brendan Schooler in a preseason game, he's going to dominate. Immediately stacks his man and is just running full speed ahead down to the returner. And then you got Jayvon Baker at the top, kind of like a receiver. He takes an inside release initially, then goes outside to force this jammer to speed turn right there. So he doesn't actually get contacted. So Baker's able to run, get ahead of steam. And then when he gets a better idea for where the ball is and where the returner is, he's going to cut back inside. So he doesn't just get forced outside and create a big lane in here for the returner to make something happen. You never want these guys to just be able to run right down the pipe. That is suicide on the punt team, but he doesn't do that. He cuts off that angle, and Schooler has a full head of steam. Sometimes it's hard for those guys, especially Schooler, as fast as he is when he's coming in hot like this, to be able to make that tackle, even when he does try to break down. But Jayvon Baker, because he's right in the area and is in good position, is able to come in as the second man, make the tackle, get some celebrations from his teammates. I loved also after this game, when Mike Vrabel was asked actually about Jayvon Baker's contributions on special teams, saying he was excited to see his teammates celebrating and the energy that brings. And when you have a young guy who needs to build up some confidence in a Jayvon Baker, those plays are crucial, because maybe as a receiver, it's not quite there yet because of those inconsistencies. But if he is able to make an impact on special teams, get some love, and then start building on that and say, okay, maybe I'm feeling a little bit better about, my hands and my confidence there. Hopefully it translates in a bunch of different aspects. But again, just tying a bow on that one before I shoot it over to a commercial break. Really good stuff from the special teams unit. Blocking, and not just blocking, but also pursuing, funneling returners to a specific spot, and then capitalizing as tacklers because you're in good position. You're not taking bad angles to the ball, and you're wrapping up. And even when guys don't wrap up, they're swarming to the football just like you see on defense. It's not always going to be a perfect play where the first guy makes the tackle, but if there's one guy who's right in the area, that's how you prevent some of those big plays. Now, we have a lot of offense and defense to get into as well. But before we do, quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks. I'm going to, fingers crossed you're ready for this. We'll be right back.
CLNS Media is powered by Prize Picks, the best place to get in on the action, even throughout the summer. There is still baseball, there's women's basketball, and Taylor, we are right on the cusp of football season. There will be preseason games loaded up on Prize Picks, so if you want to get in on the action, head over to Prize Picks. Use code CLNS. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, moving on to the offensive side of the ball. Thank you very much, Prize Picks. Appreciate you always. We are going to start with more TreVeyon Henderson. I'm talking the toss play. This isn't just TreVeyon Henderson. This is a play where we got to see him and Will Campbell being used as true weapons. If you're on my Twitter, I already kind of talked about what Will Campbell is able to do and why he's such a weapon in that phase of the game. But, I mean, the most impressive thing for me is the athleticism you see from Will Campbell. It's not just, okay, it's a tackle on these plays against a defensive back. Obviously, that's a mismatch. But Will Campbell's ability to track those guys down, lock them up, and continue to stay engaged and block down the field is extremely impressive for a big body like him. So let's get into this play. I'm going to run it first so you guys can get an idea of what the play looks like, and then we will break it down from the end zone angle. So we get this motion from Austin Hooper. Real quick little football one-on-one kind of nerdy thing. When you see these formations where a tight end is close to the formation, but he's standing up, a lot of the time for the Patriots, especially when you see like a Kayshon Boutte slanted like this, where he looks like he's about to take a very angular path whenever the ball gets snapped, that usually means that a toss is coming. They're usually pretty easy to see. That doesn't make them easy to stop. So let's run this one. Big Will Campbell on the outside. Good crease TreVeyon Henderson jumps over a man, shows that acceleration. And this wasn't one of the plays where he buried someone. I'm sorry, I couldn't fit one of those into this, unfortunately. But I mean, Will Campbell, big guy moving. This was the second time that he actually pulled out into space on a toss. The first time he got two different defenders to shove him because he played through the whistle. This time, though, he actually got to finish with the pancake. So once again, this is going to be a crack toss play. Let's see. Is that a good color? Nope, I don't even know what that is. See, I told you guys, you got to bear with me on this. Okay, so we're going to get Kayshon Boutte cracking down on this edge defender. That's where the crack part of this play comes in. Will Campbell is going to pull into space and aim for this cornerback. Meanwhile, the rest of it's pretty much going to be blocked like outside zone, where Jared Wilson's going to try to get outside against the defensive tackle. Same with the center. Basically the same idea. And Jack Westover is going to use the same vision as a running back would to follow Will Campbell and then help him block the most dangerous man, while TreVeyon Henderson reads out the blocking and decides what the best path is for him to take. So we get the shift from Austin Hooper. Now we get the toss. So Kayshon Boutte does a really solid job initially at the point of attack. He does fall off the block, but great job there from Westover. Like I said, taking that most dangerous man to help create the seal. And then let's get the spotlight on our big boy, Will Campbell. Gets out into space, tracking down the corner, locks on, keeps driving, drive into the ground, and then gives him a little something extra. Not just driving through the whistle, but making sure he gets that confirmed pancake block. Also want to show some love to the guys on the backside of this play. Jared Wilson gets just enough of his guy, actually winds up accidentally tripping of the linebacker as he tries to get underneath the block. That helps TreVeyon Henderson get outside. Also some nice stuff from Ben Brown here, getting to the second level to create a seal, block multiple guys along with Mike and Wenu, kind of create a pile up there. TreVeyon Henderson taking advantage with his speed, getting through the hole, little hop, and then getting an 18-yard game. This was TreVeyon Henderson's only run of the game, turned it into an 18-yard run, and his only kick return of the game turned into a 100-yard touchdown. This man is a big play waiting to happen. I didn't include it in the toss-up just because we have a lot of stuff to get through. Also love TreVeyon Henderson taking a check down from Drake May, making one safety miss, then running, lowering his shoulder and punishing a second safety. He did not look good after that play, but just TreVeyon Henderson is a monster, as is Will Campbell. These Patriots rookies bringing an element of toughness and athleticism to this offense. Next up, it was the Efton Chism show, the Efton Chism and Ben Waldridge show late in this game. Efton Chism actually had a couple opportunities missed. It looked like Joshua Dobbs missed him on a crossing route and on a sail route that could have gone for potential conversions. So it made his stat line look a little less impressive. I believe he had 6 catches for 50 yards, which doesn't look great. But also the plays that he did make were significant because obviously Chism also had a touchdown. So first going to run this play through so we can see how it happens. You see Chism right here in the slot, running a little mesh concept, a little shake, gets open. The ball isn't great, and that's not the quarterback's fault. There was contact. We'll talk about that. But breaking the tackle and getting into the end zone, Mike Vrabel mentioned specifically after the game what he was impressed with when it came to Efton Chism. And he mentioned the play strength of Efton Chism, and he showed it in breaking tackles, not only here, but on the screen that will also break down. So why did this play work? So first, the Patriots are going to run what's called mesh rail, right? So the mesh is going to happen here with the tight end running over on a crossing route to try to create a pick against the man coverage from the Commanders, with Efton Chism coming underneath to try to get open for an easy gain so he can pick up some yards after the catch on what is 4th and 1, a critical down where the Patriots need to make a play. We're also going to get a sit route right here from Kyle Williams. Not quite that deep. Let me fix that. We'll sit route just in case it's zone coverage, which it isn't, so that's not quite as relevant. We'll clear out from Jayvon Baker. And then the rail in mesh rail is coming from the running back, who's going to run a wheel to get upfield. Now, Jennings, the running back, isn't going to get the ball, but he does a great job creating space and then blocking at the end of the play. Love the effort from him there to kind of help Chism with the play. But Waldridge's initial read is actually the rail, because he wants to see, okay, how is whoever's covering Terrell Jennings going to respond? Are they going to take a shallow angle where he can get over the top on the rail? Or are they going to kind of give distance where, you know, maybe you toss it into the flat for a short game, but really you don't want to take that chance and throw behind the line of scrimmage, and you don't want to take an unnecessary risk downfield if you don't have to. So Waldridge gets the play. You see he initially looks towards this rail route right here and sees the defender does have to bubble over, but he decides he instead wants to step up, take 2 quick hitches to avoid pressure, and try to hit the crossing route to Efton Chism. Now, Waldridge, will see in the end zone angle a little bit better, gets his arm hit. So this is a wobbler, but great job by Efton Chism to still track the ball, make the catch through contact, and then run through contact. Because some guys, they just go down as soon as they're hit. Not Efton Chism. He keeps his feet, sees the end zone. Little hop just in case. Celebration with his teammates. Get in there, young man. Great job. Efton Chism has been virtually automatic. He's had, recently some plays where higher difficulty reps he wasn't able to make. But in this game, I really thought he made the most of his opportunities, and we saw it here. Now, from Ben Waldridge, why I was so impressed here. Now, the Commanders are going to send a 5-man rush, so every blocker up front is going to be engaged. Unfortunately, you're going to see both guards, Layden Robinson and Mekhi Butler, end up losing on their edges, right? So you see both of these guys win to the outside and end up converging, and Layden Robinson's guy actually winds up hitting Waldridge's arm. But even though there's pressure in the pocket, Waldridge isn't affected by it, steps up confidently, and makes the throw. You don't see him flinching away from contact. He follows through as best he can. Ball's a little bit of floater. Doesn't matter. Efton Chism. A little bit of a stiff arm, too, from the Chiz there, right? Tries to disrupt the pass. Nope, son, get off me. Thank you. Run in. And then Terrell Jennings. Let me get the other angle so we can see that a little bit better. But I really loved the effort from him. So he runs upfield to draw coverage. And then when he sees Chism's got the ball, tries to throw a block in case he needs to. A little something extra afterwards as well. Like that from Terrell Jennings, a guy who was on the practice squad last year. I think he has a good shot to make it as well. He's a versatile player who can pass block, he can run, and he can catch the football. All right, next play. Efton Chism's screen play. What I loved about this one is Chism getting vertical. He's not trying to juke and make all these moves. It's 1st and 20. He knows that he's got to get upfield as quickly as possible, get his offense yards, gets a couple nice blocks, runs through a tackle, protects the football, and converts on 1st and 20 on a really well-executed play. So just going to get a basic screen where Chism's going to come through here. Jeremiah Webb is going to block the outside man. Demontre Jacobs is going to block the man who's responsible for the slot there. Really impressive block here also from Demontre Jacobs. Now we're going to get some downfield blocks as well. But these are really the keys that are going to set up this play. Also a great job from Alex Lindstrom at center, getting to the 2nd level, occupying his man, and giving Efton Chism even more room to work after the catch. So Efton Chism gets the ball. Jeremiah Webb gets just enough of his guy. And then a nice job from Efton Chism to make that move inside, help set up Demontre Jacobs' block. Jacobs gets himself a pancake, throws that guy to the ground. Also got to show that love once again to Alex Lindstrom, getting to the 2nd level, staying on his man to help clear a path for Efton Chism. Really good job from Alec Lindstrom. I liked him. I wasn't really familiar with his game, but after looking at his tape, he's a physical dude. He brings a bit of an edge there. And also Efton Chism, you can see here, once he kind of gets into space, like I said, you get the juke there. Now he's running. Little move to try to get some extra. And then the linebacker tries to punch out the ball, but Chism sees it coming, puts both hands on it to prevent the punch out, then still runs through not just the linebacker's punch-out attempt, but another tackle attempt. And the linebacker does a good job kind of staying on there, but impressive by Efton Chism, a guy who's a little bit smaller, more of an undersized Z, more of a prototypical slot, to be able to show this physicality and quickness and doing the little things to protect the football and not make a mistake where it looks really good now, but if he gets that punched out, we're having a very different conversation about this play. We want to get it one more time from the end zone angle. Demontre Jacobs, boom! There we go. A little juke from Efton Chism. Alec Lindstrom with the effort on the downfield block. Chiz sees the linebacker coming in, knows he's got to put 2 hands on the rock, doesn't let it get punched out, drags the defensive back, and is finally brought down just short of the end zone. Wish he could have made it a 2-touchdown day. But I think this young man's got a pretty promising future. Maybe he's got 2 touchdowns somewhere down the road. Who knows? All right, next up, we are going to be taking a look at Ben Waldridge's play action completion, to John Giles. Now, I really tried to focus on people I thought had a chance to make the roster. John Giles, more of a special teams player, practice squad player, even though he blocks his absolute butt off, really rarely makes mistakes. Like when you see him in practice, he's one of the I think he's the biggest receiver they have, really physical presence, showed some good chemistry with Ben Waldridge on these routes over the middle of the field. On this specific play, we're going to see Ben Waldridge fake a little duo action to pull the inside of the defense, hits John Giles in stride, lets the big man rumble for a few extra yards because of the accurate pass. Now, let's see what exactly happens to make this work. Let me get my right color. Okay. So we are going to get this duo fake where it's going to be a little jab step, and then we're going to go inside. The goal of this is to get the man coverage from the Commanders to keep their eyes in the backfield, step up, and create some room where you're going to get Jeremiah Webb clearing out space and John Giles on this crossing route to take advantage of the play action. So we get the fake from Ben Waldridge. You see, the whole player here does step up, but he tries to back up and try to affect this passing lane in some way. But Waldridge gets himself a nice pocket. 2 quick hitches, nice and tight, really good footwork here. Throws this in front of the underneath defender and the trailing corner to give John Giles an opportunity to catch this and quickly turn upfield, as opposed to what we've seen sometimes from like a Joshua Dobbs, where it'll be behind, or even Drake May at times, where it's behind the receiver and forces them to adjust and maybe slows them down. So one more time from the end zone angle, get confirmation of the man coverage from G. Scott's motion right there, because he goes all the way from the outside and his defender follows him to the other side of the field. Now, get that ball fake. Well, actually, an inside zone fake? It might be an inside zone fake. Excuse me. All right, but see Ben Waldridge, quick steps, beautiful ball. Right in front of that underneath defender, doesn't let the corner catch up. Really good play there from Ben Waldridge. The reason I wanted to include this was because it's called a Yankee concept with the clear out and the crosser underneath. This is a staple for really most teams, but especially Josh McDaniels, who loves to attack the middle of the field. I mean, Ben Waldridge was 6 for 6 for 120 yards attacking between the numbers. If he ever does have to be called into action, because I think this is a guy who really is going to make that QB2 battle a competition. I don't think he's just going to settle for QB3. And I think if he continues this, might actually have the edge on Joshua Dobbs. If that's the case and he's ever called into action, you can probably have some success on this intermediate kind of middle field passing game that we know Josh McDaniels is very good at scheming up. Obviously going to be very difficult if he ever had to face starters, but Ben Waldridge is a guy who I didn't think was going to make the roster. Really impressed me with his poise, his footwork, and his consistent accuracy to beat coverage with his ball placement. No, we don't need another angle. Thank you, though. All right, now we're going to highlight some plays that didn't go so well for the Patriots offense. The first one I'm going to look at is, of course, Drake May's fumble. Now, the ball slipped out of his hands. It's not quite as bad as the Zach Sealer's play where he got punched out against the Dolphins, but still one where Drake May learning what he can and can't do, right? These young quarterbacks, especially like a Drake May, a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, all these guys who can do things that most quarterbacks can't, they don't have to follow the typical rules of quarterback play. But what you do want to see is them learning what they can and can't get away with. And sometimes you don't need to stiff arm a pass rusher and try to make a throw while you're falling down. Sometimes you just need to, like Mike Vrabel said, take a sack and live to fight another down. So we're going to see that from Drake. He looks right against the size coverage, doesn't like what he sees. As he's going down, tries to get the ball out, fumbles it because of penetration from the left side of the offensive line because of Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, which we'll get into when we get to the end zone angle. But first, quick breakdown of what Drake May is looking at. So the Commanders are showing they're in a one high type of coverage, maybe zone based on the way the corner's hips are, but they're actually going to be dropping into a 2 deep cover 2 zone with these outside corners in underneath cloud zones and the 2 deep safeties trying to take anything away towards the sideline. And then these middle field defenders dropping into coverage to try to take away anything in this area of the field that we know that Drake May loves to attack. And the Patriots are going to be running Mac Hollins on a go, Demario Douglas on an out, which if Drake May had some time, he might have been able to find him if he had gotten to the other side. And then over here, we are going to get Kayshon Boutte running a dig route. That's actually going to be Drake May's first read. Now, when Drake gets the ball, looks to the middle, sees that the coverage is rotated, but this underneath defender is taking away Kayshon Boutte's route. So he's saying, okay, I can't go there. Maybe I go to my flat. But this defender does a really good job with his distribution to, yes, affect Kayshon Boutte's route, but also get in position to attack the flat. So Drake May's saying, okay, I'm athletic. Maybe I try to get outside the pocket. But as we know, it doesn't exactly work out for him. Now let's get to the end zone angle for a better idea of why it didn't work out for him and why this play broke down in the first place. So as we're going to see, the Commanders are going to run a twist. So this guy on the edge is going to crash inside to try to create room for the defensive tackle who's going to try to loop outside to get free. This is something we saw quite a bit for Drake May because if he sees a soft edge, he has an instinct to try to get outside, either extend the play or run. Done a much better job when he scrambles this summer to try to stay a passer as long as humanly possible and not just run. But this is one where they're trying to essentially bait him into walking right into this looper. And what we're going to see from the Patriots pass protection is they're going to slide to the right side and leave Will Campbell on an island. But when you're facing twists, it's very important to be on the same level. Now, if you're basically building a wall right here, it's going to be really tough for guys to displace you. But as we see, with Will Campbell all the way back here in all this space, and Will Campbell actually lunging to try to stop this inside rush, as you see, his head's down, he's not in a strong position to recover. That's not where you want to be against a twist because, sure, he may have slowed down this inside rush, but now Jared Wilson ends up also having to block this guy. Will Campbell can't get outside to pick up the looper, and we get a situation where Drake May has to try to make an unblocked rusher miss. I appreciate him with the stiff arm trying to make something happen here. And then it looks like he tries to hit TreVeyon Henderson, which I'll show you from this angle where TreVeyon Henderson is in the progression. He's in the flat, tries to maybe get upfield and get available for his quarterback. I don't know if Drake May is trying to throw it away or get it to TreVeyon Henderson. Either way, it's a force. You want to try to take the sack so plays like this don't happen. Learning moment for Drake May, right? An ugly, egregious mistake that you do not want to see him make again because these turnovers are absolutely unacceptable. But at the same time, I know Mike Vrabel also mentioned that these twists were something that Will Campbell and Jared Wilson had to deal with during the practice week against the Commanders, and they actually picked it up really well. He didn't seem too concerned. This is something that I know these guys are smart enough to do a little bit better on. But I would like to see a little bit more control from Will Campbell in these situations because when he lost in college, it was often because he was setting to the outside and got beat on these inside moves. And sometimes he overcompensated and really tried to lunge inside, which hurt him on plays like this. So this is something that teams are going to use and try to attack the Patriots left side. Two rookies, they got to prove that they're not just going to get bullied by it every week. All right, final kind of down play I want to talk about from the Patriots and also highlight Kyle Williams because Kyle Williams had 4 targets in this game, technically 5. One of them he drew a defense pass interference. He didn't catch any of those 4 targets, but that's not quite as clear cut as it looks because he prevented interceptions on 2 plays that probably should have been touchdowns. Also got behind off coverage late on a deep ball. His corner panicked and kind of mauled him. For some reason, the officials didn't think it warranted a flag. I disagreed, but, that's not my job. But I thought Kyle Williams did a really good job getting separation in this game. The only of those 4 incompletions that I thought was his fault was a low inside curl. Was tough, but it was a drop. It was a drop. He can do better than that. We've seen a little bit of that from Kyle Williams with some of those kind of concentration drops a little bit. He's got smaller hands. He can make tough grabs, but also it's kind of been a mixed bag. Just want to see him be more consistent in that area. But, this dude can run some routes. He's been inconsistent there as well as you expect from a rookie, but he is going to toast this outside corner as the isolated receiver against cover 0. So real quick, see Land Larison move up as the sniffer. You got no deep safety, so you're pretty sure the Commanders are sending everybody as the Patriots are at the 5-yard line. Nice block from Land Larison. Joshua Dobbs kind of throws as he's fading back. Kyle Williams sends his man to the shadow realm, but the pass is behind the rookie receiver. I also wonder whether or not Jack Westover was supposed to run an over here because he kind of ends up in the throwing lane, and this turns into a bit of a mess here. But that's for another day. I want to highlight Kyle Williams here. So when you're going up against Kyle Williams, you're most afraid of him getting behind you with that speed. Even in short areas, he's so quick off the line that it's pretty easy for him to get you going one way and then beat you the other. So this corner is clearly thinking that Kyle Williams is going to run some kind of end zone fade. So Williams threatens it, gets this guy to open his hips toward the sideline and jump outside. All of this space available for Williams on the inside. Should be a walk-in touchdown thrown behind him. Should have been an interception probably for Joshua Dobbs, but a really impressive rep from Kyle Williams, one of a few that he had on the night. This kid can get separation. I think he's going to have himself a bright future. Also want to see him work a little bit more with Drake May. He has had some opportunities, but now that Matt Collins is back, he hasn't been quite as much in the rotation. But I would expect, along with Efton Chism, Kyle Williams to be somebody who really makes some plays throughout this preseason. All right, now we get to the point where I don't remember what the controls are. And let's get this off the screen so I can rotate. There we go. All right. But yeah, really impressive stuff I thought from the offense. Efton Chism, the play strength that he showed, the ability after the catch, which we know is so important for slot receivers and Z receivers in this Patriots offense. Ben Waldridge with the poise that he showed in the pocket, the accuracy as well consistently, really kind of made Joshua Dobbs' errors look even worse than they did. But of course, Joshua Dobbs brings experience and maturity that's still valuable in that quarterback room. But if I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm saying, I know we already have our franchise quarterback, but they've kept 3 quarterbacks when they had Tom Brady. Think about when they had Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett, rest in peace, of course. Ryan Mallett was developing behind the scenes, but you had Brian Hoyer as that guy who had been in the system and kind of understood what he needed to do and help set the expectation. Now, he wasn't mentoring Tom Brady, different circumstance there, but don't put it past the Patriots keeping 3 quarterbacks because they have quite a few talented passers on their roster. Now, got to move over to the defensive side of the ball, and these defensive backs were making plays. Boy, I tell you, DJ James, a guy who's been effective throughout this summer, getting his hands on passes, whether it's breakups, whether it's picks. There have been some times where he'll lose some reps, especially against some of the better receivers on the Patriots roster. But for an undersized guy, the physicality and competitiveness that he shows has really stood out, and you're going to see it on this play right here. As soon as I figure out these damn controls. There we go. Oh, my God, I feel like my dad. Okay, so we've got 3rd and 15. This is a play where DJ James, who's going to be at the top of the screen here, mentioned that he understood the situation, that it was a long yardage situation where the receiver needed to get to. Also said that once the receiver raised his pads, he knew that the route was about to break. Helped that the receiver did slip, but the recognition and intelligence from DJ James, and then the ability to finish the play, because understanding and having an idea of where you're going is one thing, but it's going to be even more impressive if you're able to actually secure that interception in game. So the Patriots, in the past, they've been more of a cover 3, cover 2 defense when they're playing zone, right? Cover 3 because you want to be sound against the run, get that extra safety in the box. Cover 2 because they play so much man coverage, it's a little bit easier to try and disguise cover 1 because it's easy to get into cover 2 shells and trap quarterbacks who think they've got open reads. Now, we're going to see DJ James at the top of the screen. Oh my God, there we go. He's not like firing out here, right? So sometimes you'll see inexperienced corners. They don't have the situational awareness to know where the route's probably going to break. So sometimes they'll fly upfield and it creates easy separation for these receivers. But you're seeing very patient steps from DJ James as he's reading the quarterback, keeping eyes to try and capitalize on the throw. Like I said, the receiver does slip, but DJ James is already in position to attack this throw. He's able to get downhill, catch the ball, and then get himself a decent return after that as well. I've really been impressed by DJ James this summer. Great to see him make a play in the preseason. Also want to highlight some work up front because the Patriots pass rush, there weren't a ton of opportunities for them to make an impression, but when they did, they got some quick pressures quite a few times. Here, you're going to see Truman Jones off the left edge, going to get through a chip, but then slip under Josh Connerly's block to get some pressure just before the ball's thrown. And then on the other side, Milton Williams, the big money acquisition, and Keon White, who is in line for a breakout season, getting some pressure as well. Keon White gets a chip, even gets a hand to the face, fights through it, slips under his guy, gets some pressure there, isn't quite able to get to the quarterback. And then Milton Williams is the guy who's trying to get outside against the tackle, is able to throw him to the ground. and almost get to the quarterback as well as he's rounding the corner there. So no, they didn't get to the quarterback, and Hartman still did deliver a catchable ball on the money, but I thought it was impressive seeing how the Patriots were still able to get some pressure despite the fact that these quarterbacks were throwing on time and rarely giving them opportunities to actually close in. All right, next play we're going to look at is the pass breakup from Miles Battle. This is actually a pretty similar situation. This time it's a 3rd and 10 with Miles Battle at the bottom of the screen. I'm sorry. Patient steps, just a calm shuffle, not trying to bail out of there too fast because he has an idea. It's 3rd and 10. They're probably going to try to throw this just past the sticks. He's ready for it. Knows the receiver's about to break. And not only does he get downhill, but he makes sure that he has vision on the quarterback because he makes contact a little bit early, but that's him trying to go after the ball. You're allowed to make contact because you are fighting for it just as much as the receiver isn't able to pick it off, quite like DJ James, but Miles Battle does do a good job of turning into the receiver and breaking this up to get the 3rd down stop. Nice little nice little strap celebration from Brendan Schooler there. High five from Jack Gibbons. Last one I want to go over. Alex Austin's pass breakup on a slot fade for another 3rd down stop, this time on a 3rd and 3. Alex Austin has been really tough to pass on downfield. When they had practice against the Commanders for their joints, I think he had 2 pass breakups in the end zone when they tried to target him on fades. This time, usually Alex Austin is on the outside. Past couple summers, he's shown some versatility to bump inside and not look uncomfortable. It's not easy for guys who usually play on the outside to bump inside because there's so much more space to work with. You need to know where your help is so that you are able to maximize your leverage, right? Because again, you don't have the sideline to help you out. All you have are your inside help in this case because he is in the slot and the Patriots are running themselves cover 1. And as you see here, Jack Gibbons has that inside help as the whole player. But going to get a slot fade from the receiver, Alex Austin in the slot. Patient, meets the receiver at the top of his route, a little bit of contact, runs stride for stride, and then does a great job playing the hands, doesn't panic, waits until the receiver, because he is running stride for stride, but he may not be in position that he feels comfortable enough to try to go for an interception. So what Alex Austin says is, you know what? I'm going to be calm. I'm going to wait till the receiver tries to go up for that ball, and then I'm going to punch it out for an incompletion to prevent a potential touchdown. Love the fire there. A little celebration with Craig Woodson. Now I want to see this from the end zone angle. One, to get a better perspective of Alex Austin's breakup, but also we get some really nice bull rushes from multiple players on the Patriots defensive line. Isaiah Aiton, number 68 on the interior right here, pushing the pocket back against Sam Hartman. Truman Jones, nice bull rush as well to condense the pocket. And we get another one from Braden Swinson, a guy who I think may not be a big impact player because the edge position is so stacked, but I thought he had some nice bull rushes and some moves around the edge. Also see him get into the left tackle's chest and put him on skates. And then Alex Austin waiting patiently. Let me back up a little bit. Sorry about that. Waiting patiently for that ball to get there. Receiver goes for it. Gets his hands in the breadbasket. Knocks that one loose. Really good stuff from Alex Austin. He's having a great summer. Him and DJ James have done an impressive job capitalizing on their opportunities, with Christian Gonzalez obviously dealing with his hamstring injury. We haven't seen him. And Carlton Davis is on some kind of plan. I don't know what it is exactly, but we haven't seen a ton of Carlton Davis. So DJ James and Alex Austin have been getting more opportunities to play inside, outside. Alex Austin also inside. They're making the most of them. I would expect both of those guys to make the Patriots' final roster. All right, now, this is going to be – there wasn't a lot of bad from the Patriots defense. Now, Kyle Duggar did miss a tackle. We're going to break that down here. He made another one, though, and I don't want to pile on Duggar. He has had a rough summer, but I didn't think he had an egregious night last night. But there was also the defensive line getting washed in this play. I just want to break down and highlight how they can be better, because Mike Vrabel himself said that the tackling is something that he wants to see the Patriots improve on. And the only really – as we would say, egregious gaffes, I thought, were this explosive run and a later touchdown run from the Commanders. So I'm just going to run this one. Commanders running duo, trying to create some displacement. Now you see the line tries to create a twist here to get some penetration, and they get that penetration, but they also get washed down. Christian Ellis can't make a one-arm tackle, and you do see him slip that tackle as well from Kyle Duggar. So You see the defensive line now, this is no longer that mainly two-gapping unit, right? They're trying to get upfield and attack, get penetration. So we see Kyrus Tonga slant. We see Joshua Farmer slant. We also see Truman Jones slant. And then we're going to see, Jabril Peppers try to keep this edge contained. And then Spillane is essentially going to spill and try to bring down the running back along with Christian Ellis. Now, like I said, we do get, some penetration here. Truman Jones gets inside. Joshua Farmer gets some penetration as well, but he gets washed down and he doesn't actually hold his ground here. So that creates a crease right here for this running back to cut back, because now Joshua Farmer and Truman Jones are both upfield, and Josh Connerly does a really nice job coming off of Joshua Farmer to then make a block on Robert Spillane. Christian Ellis, tough position where you're engaged, tries to make the one-arm tackle, isn't able to do it. And then Kyle Duggar has to be the one to track the running back and make this tackle. Maybe his pursuit angle was affected by the fact that Christian Ellis, affects the play by trying to bring him down as well. But you got to see, Duggar with the head down. Want to see him wrap up better as a guy who hasn't had the best summer. Want to see him make some more consistent plays. So not the worst thing in the world. I don't want to harp on it too much, but again, you want to get penetration, but you don't want to get washed out of the play and allow the running back to slip right past you. And then as Kyle Duggar, when you're that third line of defense, can't be the one that the running back makes miss. Oh, thank you so much, Bobby Jennings. I appreciate it. All right, the last play we're going to break down tonight. Now, this is a bit of a rookie mistake from Craig Woodson, who I thought overall did really well. He did have himself a missed tackle where he tried to shoot into the backfield on, I believe it was a third and one or a 2nd and 1. Almost had a tackle for loss, got stiff-armed, and the running back wound up getting a conversion. That was one I didn't necessarily want to highlight because that was a tough position, kind of like Christian Ellis, where his pursuit angle wasn't great for the tackle. But this was more of a mental error that I think is going to be a good teaching moment for Craig Woodson right here. So we're going to get a goal line run. This winds up being a touchdown for the Commanders. Now, you initially see this motion from Craig Woodson. The tight end moves. It's man coverage. Woodson moves with him. The sift block gets Craig Woodson out of this gap. And solid job by Braden Swinson and Joshua Farmer making contact with the back to try to stop him, but it's tough when there's no one in the gap to help them out. So let's break this down one more time. So like I said, you see that Craig Woodson is going to follow the tight end, and Marte Mapu is engaged with his man. You got Jeremiah Farms doing a good job two-gapping right here. Joshua Farmer peeks inside a little bit, but then does a nice job recovering because this guy drops his head, kind of throwing him off to get in on the tackle. Also, Braden Swinson, who we think of as a pass rusher, nice job blocking his man out as well on the outside and then getting off the block to try to make the tackle. But what you see is when Craig Woodson sees the sift or this slide from the tight end, he chases it and is too late to realize that the running back is about to hit the hole that he just vacated. Now, Craig Woodson, as the unblocked guy, has to be the one who fills this gap. And I know it's not easy because you got a lot of eye candy. This is just something as a rookie you got to learn and be able to grow from. Hopefully in the next preseason game, I'm breaking down a play where Craig Woodson's able to sniff this out and stop it. But you see him kind of follow the block, get stuck right here. That allows the running back to fight through 2 tackles. So not an egregious mistake here from Craig Woodson. Same with Kyle Duggar, though. These are moments that you got to rebound from the next time you're out on the field, be it the practice field, wherever you're putting up tape for the coaching staff. And once again, I forgot how to close this damn screen. Okay. Well, that's it, fellas. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in the audience, it was an impressive game for the Patriots. Again, there's things you can learn from Drake May. Sometimes you just got to let the play die. Learn how to weigh that balance of I'm a freak, I can make something happen, pull something out of nothing, but also sometimes I just need to know when the play's over. Defensively, got to be more consistent with their tackling. And then special teams, I really don't have anything bad to say. They were fantastic. Well done, Jeremy Springer. Great job by you. Let me go through the comments real quick. I'll see if I can answer any more of your questions before I get out of here. I know I've already stuffed your brain with all that film. Anything else? Actually, Ahmed, help me out. If there's anything that I may have missed that people were asking, feel free to help me out. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of comments. Y'all were active. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I'll try to do a better job of bouncing between comments and also the film. This is, like I said, the first time doing something this long, this consistently, just trying to get better at it every day. Typical training camp slogans. What do you think of Ben Waldridge? Oh, yeah, I answered this a little bit, but once again, I think he should compete for that backup quarterback spot in terms of if something were to happen to Drake May, God forbid, who are we going to put out there? Joshua Dobbs obviously has the experience, but I also think he's very inconsistent when it comes to where the ball actually ends up when he throws it. Ben Waldridge, again, his accuracy, poise, footwork, all very impressive. And he's young, technically in NFL terms, but he's 25 years old and he's played a lot of football. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing for him to maybe be a guy that gets a boost in that competition, even if Joshua Dobbs ends up staying as the QB3, who really is more of a mentor figure than anything else. Oh yeah, sorry, Amit. Oh yeah, this is going back to the beginning. I did answer these. Try to see. Yeah, sorry, Amit. I did answer those earlier. Oh yeah, so for this one, yeah, the tight end I think was Woodson's man on that touchdown, but that's the thing, and that's what the offense is trying to do, is create a gap by kind of pulling you one place and distracting you with that eye candy. So yeah, it's just one of those things he's got to be a little bit quicker at diagnosing. The best shot at being the fullback. This is a very good one. Yes. So Jack Westover. I thought there was, I think the last block, the final touchdown for Land Larison, he wasn't able to finish, but I thought he did a really good job blocking the most dangerous man, tracking guys down, sustaining blocks. I haven't gotten to dive into him as much as I wanted to. I was really focused on the rookies in my initial film review, but Jack Westover, I thought it was going to be Brock Lampy, obviously. He unfortunately landed on injured reserve, but I really did. I was surprised by what I saw from Jack Westover as a guy who didn't really impress me a ton this summer. But yeah, I mean, they don't have a fullback, and we know how important that is on this Patriots team. Like toss is going to be a bread and butter play for them. Jack Westover was on the field. ISO, where they just like to pretend they're running right at your face to pull those linebackers up and throw over their heads. The fullback is key, and I do think that Jack Westover has the edge. He's the only guy I've seen in the role consistently. So after being on the practice squad last year, not really having a role, and being someone I saw as on the outside in, another player who's taking advantage of opportunities when they come his way due to unfortunate injuries. Thank you, old man Mob. Oh, thank you very much, Paper Waves. Yes, I mean, I would like to see just Drake May in the offense, one drive downfield, and then maybe come off. But this is also the second preseason game, and it's a little bit different. So maybe this is the one where we see them play more of like a true half of football. I have no idea. We'll get better indications. Patriots CLNS will be in Minneapolis. We'll be at those joint practices. So we'll talk to Mike Vrabel, maybe get a better idea of how that's going to work out as the week progresses. But yeah, I mean, these guys, it has been a lighter training camp, and I think part of that is that Mike Vrabel wants to give these guys more competitive opportunities in games when you can tackle, when you can fly around and play real football. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the starters get some extensive time in the second preseason game, and then maybe in the third one we don't really see much at all of them. Joey, is Garrett Bradbury in jeopardy since he played with the second unit? I don't think that Garrett Bradbury is going to get cut, especially because Ben Brown's been inconsistent as well. Like, he got buried a couple of times, even though he also had some positive plays. But yeah, they were rotating series. Like you mentioned, Bradbury was with the second unit. They're trying to see, I think, what Ben Brown can do at guard to know that he has some flexibility, a la Cole Strange, because it's hard to be a center-only player in this league. You got to bring more value. And I think Ben Brown at this point is a lock because he and Bradbury are the only ones who you know can snap consistently. But as a starter, yeah, I think this is a true competition. And if Ben Brown is able to stack more good days than Garrett Bradbury, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the job. And also, if Bradbury doesn't win the job at his age, I wonder if he would retire, if he would even want to play as a backup. But with what the Patriots are building, who knows? Maybe he just wants to be along for the ride and for the good vibes. Try to get to one or two more if we got them. Here we go. Do you think Efton Chism will get the roster spot over Baker and Polk? Yes. I say over Baker. I think Baker has more upside, so it's tough for me to necessarily say over. But Chisholm's been more consistent. He had a really nice punt return where he set up his own blocks. Also had some really nice efforts from, I believe it was Jack Gibbons and Brendan Schooler as well. But like Chisum gives you return ability. He can block. I know he'd be more than willing to cover kicks. So he's also a special teams guy a la Jayvon Baker, but I think he's more consistent as a receiver. So if you were talking about who was going to be on the field if they made the roster, I'd probably put Chisum over Baker in that respect. Polk, we'll see what happens. It's really unfortunate with his shoulder injury. I just think he's missed so much time. He might end up on IR, especially because this battle's so tight. I just don't see how he makes the roster considering other guys have just so much ground on him. And Baker, I want to see him be more consistent as a receiver because the flashes are absolutely there. But he does need to finish plays. Like, he needs to finish the catches. He needs to just – it looked like he missed a block when Jalen Polk got injured. I don't know for sure. I didn't get a chance to ask him after the game. I will, I'll try to get that information if I can. But while Baker needs to tighten things up, it's great to see him contribute on special teams, maybe earn himself a role. So, yeah. So to wrap that up, Chisum may be technically over Baker, but I think both of those guys ultimately make the team with Jalen Polk, if his injury is significant, potentially landing on IR. I don't know anything. This is not a report. This is purely speculation. All right, Ahmed, let's get one or two more in there if we got them. Also, in the comments and everything, please give me feedback. I don't know if I was talking too fast, if there were things in the editing that could have been smoother, anything like that. I'm still building. So seriously, any feedback you guys give me is extremely, extremely helpful. Do you think I'm delusional to believe in Polk? I don't think so, because I've been one of the people who's saying, maybe he wasn't as talented to be taken where he was by the Patriots. I think you could maybe debate that with different people, but he was a good player. A lot of the red flags that we've seen in the NFL, to our knowledge, didn't exist in college. And I just think the situation he was in was terrible last year, and it really put him behind the 8 ball. I would just like to see what Polk is able to do when he has confidence and has fully bought in. I think he has bought in. It just sucks that he's had to deal with the injuries to a shoulder that's really set him back. So it's unfortunate. You're not crazy to believe in Polk, but when you're in your second year and dealing with injuries like this, it's tough to predict what can happen in the future. All right. Great stuff, everybody. Thank you all so much for being patient. If I goofed anything on this one, but this was a blast. It was great getting back into the film. I have missed it so much. Go to my Twitter at TKyles39 for some other additional film cut-ups. Over at CLNSmedia.com. I did a pre-film breakdown where it's not quite as in-depth as like what you saw here, but it was really more of my initial reactions, praising the rookies and how they flash, kind of acknowledging where they made their mistakes. There's some quotes from Mike Vrabel in there, and also just some leftovers that I had in my notebook, as well as the injuries, the people who didn't play, all that good stuff. And of course, we will have more stuff for you throughout the week. Tomorrow, we've got a training camp practice. We're going to be in Minneapolis this week for those joints. So it's going to be a blast. Stay tuned, everybody, for all of that. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Patriots CLNS. Comment on the video. Like I said, please give me feedback. I'd really appreciate it. We're going to have some stuff for our members as well at Patriots Press Pass. Going to try to get some fun film breakdown stuff for you as well. Make sure our members feel appreciated, because you are, but so are all of you. I really appreciate y'all being patient with me tonight. So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you next time. Peace, y'all.